And there you go. So,
Perfect.
welcome to my presentation. I won't really call it a talk or a presentation, but it's more of a journey. I'm going to take you on a journey through the cloud, and I'm going to demystify cloud concepts and share the power of storytelling and analogies to explain cloud computing. So, without much ado, let's move on. So, just an introduction here. So, I keep talking about using storytelling or using some alternate means to explain complex technical concepts. But why is that? I mean, why do we even need to drift into that domain when we have so many white papers, web articles, so many technical articles out in the internet? So, according to Michael Dahlstrom, a whooping 59% of the people rely on mass media and other mediums to get their information about technology in today's world. So, just breaking that graph down, 34% of the people go onto the television, 35% of the people go to the internet, and then we have people going to magazines and other media to get their information about technology. So, in today's world, especially during the pandemic, we all have been relying so heavily on technology for our day to day work, whether it is ordering groceries or whether it is just using your personal assistant like Alexa or Google Assistant to get your work done or get to know information about the weather outside before going out. Or anything for that matter. The presentation you're viewing, some of you are in doing it in person and some of you are viewing it virtually. So we have been relying so heavily on technology. And it's important for us to explain technical concepts or technologies to people from different ages and backgrounds, because not everyone might have the same kind of exposure or the same kind of knowledge that you and I have for that matter. And like I said, a whooping 59% of the people go on to mass media to get their information about technology because it's not always in their direct or lived experience. So, what is creativity? Because that's what my entire presentation is based on, creativity. So, creativity is the ability to view a situation or an object from two different frames of reference or two unrelated matrices of thought, which means sometimes, for example, the cloud technologies, you can see a lot of white papers online. You can see a lot of different mediums, like you can see web articles and architectural diagrams. All of that is available for you. And those are the traditional means of getting information about technology. What creativity does is it views the situation, or in this case, cloud computing, from two different frames of reference or two different references that are actually considered completely unrelated. In this matter, storytelling. If I just go into a job interview and start telling story to my manager, I mean, just imagine the kind of response that would evoke. At first, they're going to be surprised. Okay, what is she exactly doing? Why is she telling me a story? And by the time the story gets over, slowly and slowly, you get realizations one by one. Oh my God, aha, that's a moment. Oh yes, she's explaining this, she's explaining that. That is what creativity does for you. At first, it may displace you or make you feel a little uncomfortable, but soon it starts putting everything back in the picture, because what I'm essentially doing is I'm using something from your direct experience, a story for that matter, and something which may not be in your direct experience, like cloud computing. I'm putting them both together to form correlations so you can understand what's going on. That is what creativity does for you. It's like magic. If you think about magic, first you're introduced to an object, suddenly that object disappears. You don't know what's happening, you're completely unaware. And then there's the aha moment when the object comes back and everything makes sense to you. You don't know what really happened, but at the same time, you're able to make sense of the entire trick. That is what creativity does for you. And that is what I'm going to do now with the rest of my presentation. So just sit back and relax while I just move on. So, yes, story time. I'll tell a short story about a friend of mine. So, my friend and I, one day, it was during the pandemic, we were just walking around. It was a long day and we were not really supposed to go out. And all of a sudden, she told me that her washer and dryer at home broke down in the middle of a session. She had put her clothes inside, and within a couple of minutes, she realized that her washer stopped working completely. It had broken down, and she had all sorts of clothes inside that were dripping wet, and she didn't know what to do. She was completely she was stressed out. She didn't know what to do about it. And then someone recommended to her that she can perhaps take all the clothes and go to a laundromat. What is a laundromat? Laundromat consists of not one, but two, three, and sometimes a lot of machines. There are around 15, 20 washers and dryers out there. They told her, why don't you just take your clothes there, get the washing and drying done, and then perhaps you can call a plumber or you can just call someone, a handyman, to fix your washer and dryer because it would obviously take time. It was during the pandemic. She got really excited. She went to a laundromat. She drove there. She put her clothes in a washer. Suddenly, she realized this is amazing. I can just pay for whatever I'm using. Like, I just put in some amount of money, like $2. I get the washing cycle done, take it out, put it in the dryer, get the drying cycle done, and that's it. I don't have to worry about things breaking down. Like, for example, if the washer breaks down, it's not my headache, it's the headache of the owner of the laundromat, for example. And I don't have to buy that entire machine. I don't have to spend thousands, hundreds of dollars just buying the machine. I use it when I want to. I just pay as I go, for example. And at the same time, I'm getting a good service. If something doesn't work out, if something breaks down, not my headache. I can choose another washer and dryer because there are almost 15, 20 of them here. That was a really good moment for her because she was able to get her washing and drying cycle done without having to worry about maintenance, without having to worry about electricity, water. She didn't have to pay for it. She just paid for the service. She paid for what she used. And everything else, right from the machine breaking down to the machine maintenance and just upgrading, getting a new machine, everything was done for her by the owner of the laundromat. What she understood or encountered right now is analogous to how we understand cloud computing. I just did an aha moment for you here, didn't I? So that is what cloud computing looks like. Cloud computing is nothing but a shared space where servers, racks, hardware, storage spaces, and different services and products are grouped together and provided to you by some public cloud provider. I'm talking about Google Cloud for that matter here. And you just need to go on the internet or you just need to go on the cloud console and deploy your machine. Click of a button, put in some information, and there you're done. You don't have to worry about maintenance overhead. You don't have to worry about the data center headaches that come with it. Like, for example, a machine breaks down or something is not connecting. You don't really have to worry about all of that. All that headache is taken care of you by Google. And you don't have to pay for the entire machines or the racks and servers. You just have to pay for what you use. You want to commit to a resource for 5 years, you have excellent discounts for that as well. So you just pay for what you're using, whether it is resource based or whether it is based on the usage by that particular application. You don't have to worry about having an entire team taking care of the maintenance. That's done for you by Google. And at the same time, you can get the best of whatever is available to you. There's so many choices and options. Like a laundromat, you have 15, 20 machines. You can choose the latest machine or anything you want and customize it according to your needs and requirements. You can set it on high wash cycle, low, anything you want to do. It's completely customizable. And you have the latest technology available to you. You don't have to keep buying a new machine every time you want the latest technology. What did I do? I used the story of a friend of mine whose washer or dryer broke down in the middle of a cycle, and I explained cloud computing. And that is how actually stories and analogies work. Take something really familiar. Like, I know all of you might not have had a washer or a dryer breaking down, but you definitely have some experience with some machine or some machinery breaking down at your home. So the minute you do that, you can understand how a shared resource looks like. You don't understand the laundromat? Take it with the example of a car and a bus. You have a car, entire maintenance overhead is yours, suddenly it breaks down. You can just take a public transport to get to your location. Public transport like the metro or the T, as we call in Boston, or even the train for that matter, is or subway. It is just a shared resource that you're using. You just sit wherever you want to. That space is yours. You pay for what you use, and you don't have to worry about any other maintenance overhead. You don't have to get the servicing done, pollution check, nothing. Everything is done for you by the owners. That is how cloud computing looks like. It's basically virtualizing the entire physical environment of a data center and providing you the best services to run your application, store your data, or even host some of your virtual machines on. That is what cloud computing looks like. Let me take that up a notch and explain something else. Now, all of you might at some time have heard the story of the three little pigs, or if you haven't, this is a new story for you. So, three little pigs decided to go out into the big forest all by themselves. They decided it's high time we need to actually venture out on our own and become independent. They decided to go into the forest and build small houses for themselves. The first pig built a house of straw. As you know, straw is really thin and weak, but the first pig thought, I think that'll be enough. It's just me inside the house, right? The second pig decided to build a house made of sticks and clay, which was a little stronger than the first one. And the third pig thought, I'm not going to just build a house for the heck of it. I am going to build a wonderful house made of bricks and stone. So the third pig built a beautiful house that was made of bricks and stone, and it was extremely sturdy. And the foundation was also really, really strong. All the three pigs had their own houses of themselves. They were having a wonderful time, but suddenly they saw a big bad wolf lurking around. The wolf was really hungry. And because it was a forest, it was not really getting anything to eat. And he noticed that there were three little pigs here. The wolf decided to approach those pigs one by one so he can get some food from their house or some goodies. He went to the first pig and started running towards the house. Thankfully, the first pig was monitoring his or her surroundings and realized that a wolf was lurking by. The pig went and shut the door of the house and sat inside. The wolf did not give up. The wolf came and he requested the pig to let him in. The pig didn't want to let him in, of course, because it's an intruder and it is someone you don't really want inside your house. So the access was not granted to the wolf. After monitoring the surroundings, the first pig decided not to grant access to the wolf inside the house. After some time, the wolf decided, okay, if this person is not going to let me inside the house, I'm going to huff and puff and blow the house down. The wolf huffed and he puffed and he blew the house down. And because that particular house was made of sticks, he was able to blow it down really, really easily. Then the wolf got inside, got access to some of the food and the candies that were kept and had a fill. Now the first pig was homeless, so the first pig went and stayed with the second pig. They both were inside this straw and the clay house. But the wolf decided it wanted something more to eat. It was really hungry again. Tried the same trick, but the two pigs were again monitoring the surroundings and did not give access to the wolf inside the house. What happened after that? The wolf came inside and the wolf came to the house, again huffed and puffed and tried to blow the house down. Because that house was made of sticks, he was able to blow it down. It required some more effort, but he was able to blow it down. But thankfully, this pig had stored all the food and goodies in a safe. So because the food was stored in a safe, even though the wolf got inside the house by blowing it down, he was not able to get access to the goodies inside the safe. The pig actually secured all the goodies, even though the intruder was able to gain access inside the house. The wolf was really dejected. He was still hungry. He went to the third pig. Now, this time again, the third pig was monitoring the surroundings. All the three pigs were really cuddled up inside the house. They didn't want to he didn't want to let the intruder in again because they had very limited food, right? What happened after that? The wolf tried to huff and puff and blow that house down as well. But just imagine, can you blow the house down you're sitting in right now? No, that house was made of bricks and stone and the wolf wasn't able to do that. The three pigs rejoiced. They had built a really strong structure. They concentrated on building a strong structure. And because of that, the house wasn't going to get blown. But the wolf did not give up. The wolf started roaming around the house and realized that the chimney was open. So the wolf climbed up the house and tried getting down from the chimney. The wolf found an opening or a vulnerability in the house and tried to get inside. Now, the pig was really fast on its feet and lit the chimney on fire, the fireplace on fire. But because the fireplace was lit on fire, the wolf felt the warmth and ran away. Now, the third pig also managed to secure all the goodies because of one, a really strong structure, and second, mitigated that risk really fast because of fast thinking. What did I do right now with this story? I explained cloud security to you using the story of three little pigs, which I probably tell to my daughter every day. So, how is this similar to cloud security, or how is this analogous to cloud security? Whenever we're building any application on the cloud, because cloud is a shared space, we need to realize that security is a shared responsibility between us and the cloud provider. Building a strong security structure is very important, like the house. If you have a weak structure, security structure, or weak policies, like you don't have the right compliance in place, you don't have the right policies in place, and the structure is weak, it is very, very easy to blow it down like the first two houses. But if you have a strong structure, like the brick house, it's impossible to break it down. Second, always encrypt your data. Because even if the wolf, for example, got access to the second house, he was not able to gain access to the goodies inside the safe. That is how it works with cloud security as well. Always encrypt your data. So even if the intruder or the hacker gets access inside your system, you have to make sure that they don't understand what is written in the code. So, for example, when you put in your password, sometimes you can see it converted into some mumbo jumbo weird symbols instead of your password. That is what encryption looks like. So, encryption is nothing but storing the data in a format that is not easily understandable by intruders or outsiders, even if they gain access to your system. Now, finally, always remember to test your structure from within. And that is something the third pig missed. The third pig missed testing his house from inside. And because of that, the wolf was able to find an opening or a vulnerability to get inside using the fireplace. That is what we have to remember when it comes to our own applications on the cloud as well. Always do testing from the inside to make sure your structure is really strong and there's no vulnerability or opening through which attackers can get inside. Even if they do, always have a mitigation plan ready. By mitigation, I mean just nullifying the security attack if it happens, because it's not always possible to be proactive. But even if you're not able to be proactive, have a plan in place so you can be reactive when the security attack happens. And one thing all the three pigs did was monitoring. Always monitor your surroundings. Like even when you are on the cloud, have logs and metrics to check who's trying to gain access to your system. Is there any unwanted person trying to get inside? And because monitoring is very important, it's like a CCTV outside your house. And after monitoring, have the right accesses in place. Like the pigs give access to their friends to get inside the house, but they did not give access to the wolf. And that is very similar to how we understand identity and access management on the cloud. Give right accesses. Like if someone needs to view your document or your application, don't give them editor access. It's as simple as that. So what did I do? I explained cloud security using the story of the three little pigs. And that is how it works with any kind of storytelling for cloud technologies. Now, I'm going to move on to one last story here. And this time I'm taking it up a notch and diving into a more complex concept. So I have a daughter who's screaming downstairs right now. So when she was a toddler, when she was an infant, sorry, she used to crawl around the entire house. So I realized one fine day she was going towards her dining table. She bumped into the table while she was crawling. She was really hurt and she didn't realize what just happened. After that, she was able to retrospect and think back upon it. That if I hit my head against the table, I'm going to get hurt. Table equal to ouch. That particular equation was fed in her brain. And next time she exercised caution while going near the table. She didn't go and bump her head again because she remembered last time it happened, it really hurt my head. So this is what artificial intelligence is all about. It is feeding some equations or algorithms into a machine so they're able to form hypotheses based on that particular equation. Now, you just ask them, hey, how is the weather? What happens after that? That particular assistant reflects back on an equation that has been fed into them. If the user asks about the weather, equal to, give this particular response. So that is what happens. An equation is fed into the brain of a machine and they're able to look back upon it. So first there's a sense of cognition when the equation is fed, and then there's a recognition when they're able to go back and reflect upon that particular equation and give an appropriate response. You can ask them to read your email, you can ask them to book a flight, you can ask them to just look for your reminders. All that is being done by artificial intelligence. Now, what happened? So I realized even though my daughter wasn't going directly at the table and the chair, she actually went around the table and the chair next time. So I didn't teach her to do that. What just happened here? My daughter realized that a table is going directly against the table is going to get hurt. So what will happen if I just go around it? She realized she's not going to get hurt at all. That is what machine learning is all about. It is when algorithms or equations are fed into the machine, but the machines learn to think and form their own hypothesis. It's not something as simple as what is your name equal to Alexa. They can also think beyond a certain point. For example, they can have some intelligent suggestions as well, genius suggestions. Okay, you like this particular product. How about this suggestion? That is what machine learning is all about. Machine learning is teaching machines to learn and think like humans, and it's a subset of artificial intelligence. Now, what happened after this? My daughter actually went to a friend's place, and that friend had a big couch instead of a table and a chair. However, I noticed my daughter was still really careful. She didn't go and bang her head against the couch. I didn't ask her to do that. What happened here? She formed an equation in her brain. Table equal to couch, and banging against either of them is going to get hurt. So my daughter classified that information together. So she classified table and chair together, table and couch together, and realized that banging against either of them is going. Deep learning happens when certain objects and experiences are classified together and responses are evoked based on that classification. This is extremely complex. It's not as simple as it sounds, but that's the gist of it. So my daughter classified various items together, table, couch, maybe the wall, door, everything. She classified it together because she realized there are solid, hard objects. So she learned, if I go running against any hard object, I'm going to get hurt. That is what deep learning does. It classifies information together, just like our neural network in our body. And based on that classification, responses are given to the users. That is what deep learning is about. So I use the story of a hyperactive toddler, and any of you who has seen a kid or a dog or a cat running around would understand what I'm talking about. Or yes, our own experiences as well. I mean, we have grown up like this. We have hurt ourselves, but next time we have been really careful. So that is how humans learn, and applying the same techniques on machines is how machines learn. And this is a very important service of clouds providers, because building an artificial intelligence service or a product, for example, a chatbot, would have been very cumbersome at one time. But with different platforms that we have, for example, Google Cloud Platform, you can have a no code, low code, or any other different medium to create your own chatbot or create your own machine learning service or product for that matter. So that's what this is about. Now, moving on. So why stories? Stories take something familiar and attach it to something new to create magic. And that is what I did. I used some familiar examples to explain something that might not be very in your direct experience, or sometimes even new. And I created a correlation between the two to explain complex technical concepts. It's not always within our direct experience. So sometimes they're outside our direct experience, and people are dependent on others to interpret information. Because of that, analogies are extension of the stories that our lives tell. It may be direct experience, or it may be folk tales that you have heard through our political systems, technology, and experience. So these stories, because they're so integral to our lives or our lived experience, we can use them to explain complex technical concepts like cloud computing, cloud security, or even for that matter, artificial intelligence, which is not always within our direct experience. Now, I'll just spend a couple of seconds on this ethical considerations, because we are engaging the readers with our stories. So we have to make sure that we're sensitive to cultural forces and responses that our stories may evoke. We have to make sure that we're not triggering anything unnecessary or triggering anything unwanted. And we have to have that sensitivity while we are telling stories to explain any kind of technology. And also, we have to present the information accurately without leaving much room for distortion of facts, because technology is factual, or it works on basis of facts. So you have to make sure that it's not very, very open-ended. Things are laid out clearly, things are marked clearly, and correlations are formed. So thank you so much for attending my presentation. And I have my website, clouddemystified.com. If you want to see more stories and more concepts explained using analogies. And you can always connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter as per your convenience. Thank you so much for having me here, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you so much. It was such a fun experience, actually. I didn't think about it, but you use real life scenarios to explain such a complicated things. And I am thinking about how useful it would be for my Girls Who Code class. So I'm looking forward to have you.
Of course, yeah, that would be wonderful. I'd love doing that.
Awesome. Thank you, Vijeta.
Vijeta, thank you so much. What a great talk
Fun.
that was. Really
Yes.
interesting.
Thank you.
I assume it was simple enough and we don't have questions? Or do we? Put your questions in the chat. We will have a few minutes before the next speaker to hang out, ask Vijeta questions. I don't think we will have a time to do another Mentimeter.
Stories, the communicating with stories is a great way. It's a good teaching mechanism, all of that, which you just really beautifully demonstrated. But to do it on a day in, day out basis gets a little harder, right? The stories get old, or what are some tips to refresh those stories and engage your audience even more?
Good point.
Yeah. That's a great question, actually. So for that, I want to just add one thing. Everything I'm doing right now, right from telling a presentation, from talking to both of to all of you, all those are stories in my brain. So you don't really have to allude to any stories that are folklores or any other stories that have already been told. But anything you're doing, for example, have a coffee room chat. So someone is trying to use the coffee machine. Use that as a story to tell a particular example. So everything around us are stories. So this same example, for every presentation, sometimes I try to give different story examples because I have some repetitive audience as well. So for just my suggestion for this is everything around you, every experience, a bird flying. I mean, of course, a bird flying also gave way to aeroplanes that we are using right now. Everything is an extension of the stories that our lives are telling. So story doesn't really need to be a familiar story, but anything within a direct experience. Like I'm not going to tell you Indian folklore stories because it might not be understood by all of you here. But that is what, yeah, my 2 cents here are, because I've realized that even during our hall room conversations in office, sometimes I just use some random example. I'm just seeing two people, for example, just walking by. That is also a story for me. I can use that to explain a complex, some other technical concept. So just open your mind up and just use the power of imagination, because everything we are doing right now is a story.
This is real talent out there.
Story that we can use a language. Sometimes I have people who are really scared about coding. So Yulia, this would allude to your Girls Who Code. So they say, okay, this coding is really complex. I don't have it in me. I tell them, you are able to speak some kind of language, whether it is sign language, whether it is verbal language, or whether just communicating. You are communicating since you're a baby. You used to cry when you were hungry. So that is what coding is all about. You're just taking some words, you're just putting them in a syntax and just communicating it. It is something as simple as that. So you have been doing that since you were a newborn baby, or you wouldn't survive. So
I shall admit, this is a talent. This is the talent right here. And she's actually sharing her experience and talent. You can pick a few right here. Thank you, Vijeta. It was.
Thank you, Vijeta. Great answer. Great talk. Thank you so much.